Good evening. This house will come to order. I am pleased to welcome all of you to the virtual English language debate competition. Tan Sri Datuk Sri Panglima Dr. Abdul Rahman Arshad Challenge Trophy, Johor State Level 2021. Representing the government is from Sarawak. The first speaker is Ryan Tan Lai En. The second speaker is Awangku Zuhairi bin Awangku Fa'aziro Idin. And the third speaker is Raymond Kimura.
Hi, may I interject for a while? I think our first speaker is Ray Fee. Yes, set correction there.
Who is your first speaker?
Our first speaker is Ray Fee Junhao.
Ray Fee, so your first speaker, the first speaker for Sarawak will be Ray Fee Jinhao. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Speaking for the opposition will be from Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur. The first speaker is Muhammad Haris bin Muhammad Zaini. The second speaker is Kelly Chu Yan Ni. And the third speaker is Oh Weina. On behalf of the House, I would like to extend a special welcome to our educators. Eric Constantine as the Chief Educator. He will be assisted by Ruhi Fazlihana binti Jalani and Taufiq bin Muhammad Amin. And I, Ashraf Elman bin Akmal Hijaz, am your Speaker of the House. Before we begin, I would like to read a few important rules for today's debate. The debaters will have 8 minutes in which to deliver their remarks and 4 minutes in delivering their reply speeches. Third debaters from both teams shall not introduce any new arguments. Their role is to rebuke the opponent and to defend the position of the team. While a debater is speaking, the opposing team can offer points of information. The debater may accept or decline them. After all debaters have spoken once, the first or second debater of each team gives a reply speech with the opposition reply speech being delivered first, followed by the government. The timekeeper will ring the bell once after the first minute and at the end of the 7th minute to signal the time allocated for points of information. At the end of the 8th minute, the bell will be rung twice. A maximum of 3 minutes will be given to both teams to prepare for their reply speech. During the reply speech, the timekeeper will ring the bell once at the 3rd minute to signal that the debater has 1 minute left. At the end of the 4th minute, the bell will be rung twice to signal the end of the debate. Without further ado, I would like to call upon the first government to deliver the resolution, define its terms, and outline the government's case.
Hello, everyone. I want to make sure this is audible.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, and 1. If something appears to be on the internet, it may be manipulated and may not be true. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, respected speaker, fair and wise adjudicators, precise timekeeper, worthy opposition members, and members of the House. I will first start off my speech by defining the motion and also giving characterization of this motion. Secondly, I will also tell you what is the case line for site government and also the burden of proof for my speech. Thirdly, I will introduce my main argument in today's debate. And lastly, I will highlight some comparisons between site government and site opposition. And therefore, I will prove to you as to why site government wins on these comparatives. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, definition and characterization. Criminalization means criminalizing people based on fine or prison sentence, which is determined by the magnitude and the proportionality of the harm of the deepfake content. Our policy allows for deepfake content when identified by certain government agencies to immediately be taken down as soon as possible. Deepfake content. So people use deepfake content because it is easily accessible to people and people can use it for malicious or bad intent. Deepfake content should be something that is illegal to do, because people who use deepfake content to damage other people's reputation, scam, and also slander other people. Therefore, these people should be held responsible for their actions. Deepfake content can also defame you by saying that you did certain bad things in the past, or you have committed some sort of crimes before without any sort of accountability and responsibility. Secondly, the case line under side government is that deepfake content opens up to the risk of misuse. For example, scamming other people or damaging other people's reputation. Now, there will be 3 burden of proofs under my speech. I will prove to you firstly as to how does deepfake content damage the reputation of individuals. Secondly, the harms of individuals when your reputation is being damaged. And thirdly, some comparisons between side government and also side opposition. Ladies and gentlemen, now we shall move on to my main argument in today's debate, which is about damaging individuals' reputation. Now, allow me to paint you a picture with how the world currently looks like with the latest deepfake content we have right now. Deepfake content is subjected to misuse by individuals to damage the reputation of other people. With current laws that we have in our legal system, which are libel and defamation laws, where individuals are punished for slandering and damaging the reputation of other people. The point that these victims suffer from fake content is the same here. For example, you use the face of someone else and defame them with fake statements or even fake allegations. So people now are more likely to buy into this content and to believe in such thing, because the truth of the deep fake content are so hard and so impossible to even be identified. Now, before I move on to my first level of analysis, yes, POI.
I guess my one then. You speak of deepfake content as if the only thing that can come up from it is bad things. How about the good content? Small little things like filters.
Okay, I will prove to you as to why the harms of the deepfake content should always outweigh the benefits of deepfake content in my comparisons later on. So yeah, stay tuned. Now, moving on to my first level of analysis, why does the government have the obligation and responsibility to protect the citizens? Now, we say that laws are in place, and that's why deepfake content must always be criminalized, because it harms social stability and also harming the reputation of individuals. Now, I will prove to you why. Deepfake content is so harmful to an extent that it can damage your job employment, because it makes the society look down upon you or feel like you are very weird and isolated, even in the worst case where you are actually innocent. Now, moving on to my second level of analysis, sorry, rejected. Deepfake content harms individuals because it can lead to severe reputation damage, which harms individuals in 3 ways. For example, individuals are unfairly targeted by and harassed by social media users, or individuals lose their jobs, and even individuals are isolated from the social circle and their peer groups. When this happens, it will even lead to the scenario where the mental health of individual deteriorates and gets even worse, because they are unable to gain back their reputation and recognition from their friends, from the social circle, from their peers. Therefore, the last thing that may happen is that individuals will resort into committing suicide, because they even lost their financial stability. Ladies and gentlemen, under the status quo, we know how emotional and how mental harm is a major issue all around the world, and especially in Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen. And therefore, we say that we can also indirectly reduce the unnecessary emotional harms to all these victims. Now, moving on to my third level of analysis, sorry, rejected. Our mechanism is that by criminalizing all forms of deepfake content, we send a message to the society where if you want to impersonate or imitate someone else with malicious or bad intent or slander someone else, justice will be in place to deal with you. Some of the individuals who have their reputation damaged have actual families, ladies and gentlemen. Not only the individuals are now being slandered, their family members are also being included in this case. This looks like their parents being looked down upon by our society, and their children are getting bullied in the schools. Now, lastly, the main thing that distinguishes and differentiates side government from side opposition is that when we criminalize all forms of deepfake content, we discourage people from using deepfake content because people are now afraid that they will be held accountable for their irresponsible actions. Now, this is also an answer to the POI just now. So the moment offenders are caught, victims are given a sense of closure and given compensation, be it through A,
POI.
financial compensation, B, the ability to clear up your name and gain back your reputations when the government officials say that the content is fake. Yeah, POI.
So you say that criminalizing it will give the victims closure, but how does it give it closure when the damage has already been done?
Okay, yeah, we have already proved to you as to why when the damage has been done, it still can be taken back because government officials are now there to prove the clarity, to prove the transparency of such individuals, knowing that to show to the public that they don't really do such things in the first place. Okay, so even if deepfake content is good for some reasons, the risk and the harms of misusing deepfake content should always outweigh the benefit of it because side opposition are living in a world full of denial because they assume that people are all good people and will always use deepfake content for good purposes. So to sum up my case, we, the government, strongly and wholeheartedly agrees with the motion today because I've already proven to you as to how deepfake content damages the reputation of individuals and the harms that is associated and come after such irresponsible actions. Our case line is very simple, which is deepfake content opens up the risk of misuse, like scamming other people or damaging the reputation of other people. With this, I have never been prouder to propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, the first speaker of the government. The first speaker of the opposition, you may start your speech.
My speech will begin in 3, 2, 1. Panel of judges, side government wants us to think that every single deepfake content is bad. They totally neglected other forms of deepfake. For an example, CGI that is being used in movies. Without CGI, we cannot enjoy watching movies. Anyway, moving to their point. Prime Minister brought up the point that deepfake can harm the reputations of people, and this will lead to individuals committing suicide. So my question to the side government is, how does your mechanism solve that problem? Your mechanism said you will take down the content and you will provide justice, but the damage has already been done. People will resort to committing suicide because once you publish the deepfake content on the web, people have the ability to download and spread the videos. And they said that victims are provided closure thanks to their mechanism. Their mechanism can criminalize the act and provide closure. But as I said earlier, the damage has already been done. Your video has been published, people have already viewed it. And even if you take it down, they can still download it and spread it around on the internet. So moving on to my point.
PI, please.
I'll take it later. So in my speech, the opposition has decided to recognize two stakeholders because the government did not do so. The two stakeholders are firstly, the victims of deepfake content, and secondly, the deepfake content creators. Our burden here as side opposition is to prove how criminalizing deepfake content does not solve the issue from the root cause. Before I move on, I'll take your POI.
Everything that you said just now, including the ability for this video to be spread and propagated, means that you're already conceding to the harm that was given just now. Please thank you for siding with side proposition here by acknowledging and conceding to our harms.
Thank you for clarification. Moving on to my burden. Our burden here is to prove how criminalizing deepfake content does not solve the issue. So we have provided a counter mechanism that will be better than the government's proposition. So under MCMC, we will introduce AI bots to filter the content before it even gets published on the internet. The AI bots will detect the deepfake content and they will filter it and limit the content depending on the type. So not all deepfake content will be limited, only certain types. For an example, pornography is strictly prohibited. And even if there are deepfake content that are harmless, these AI bots will put a disclaimer so that people know that the content you're watching is a deepfake content. Our MEC is better than the government's mechanism because it reduces the engagement in video. It prevents the video from being published on the internet in the first place. Therefore, no harm is being done. If people cannot access the content, they cannot spread it, they cannot see it. Unlike your mechanism, which only takes it down when the damage has already been done.
QI.
And the content will remain on the net. I'll take it later, because people and criminalizing it will only attract attention. For an example, after I post a deepfake content and I have been prosecuted for it, it attracts attention on the issue. Then people will only be more inclined to search on what the video is about, or what the content is about, which is the reason that Kim Kardashian's sex video is still widely around the net. So our AI will let you know what kind of content. Our mechanism is better than the government's because our mechanism can educate people. If I were to post a video about deepfake content, the AI bot will tell you that this is deepfake content and it's not allowed, compared to your mechanism, which is only the law.
QI,
Law
please.
is not being taught in school. Later, please. Our counter mechanism can prevent the problem from happening in the first place. As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. As opposition team, we have 3 substantives. I'll prove to you why why criminalizing deepfake leads to double jeopardy. My Deputy Prime Minister will be talking about 2 points: how it is against basic human rights and it is harmful to the technological advancement of society. Let's talk about the status quo because the Prime Minister did not talk about it. We first have to understand why people publish deepfake content in the first place. It will be inherently irrational to claim that every single deepfake content is illegal, because deepfake content is a wide genre and it would be unfair to criminalize every single form of it. We first have to understand what kind of deepfake content they are being published on the internet. Deepfake is not just about pornography. Deepfake ranges from CGI, Instagram filters, and even comedy. Deepfake is often used as an outlet for people to express themselves. For an example, comedians tend to use deepfake content to call out politicians through satire, and celebrities use it for publicity. I'll take it later. And most deepfake content is clearly recognizable. We live in a society where we were brought up living on the internet. We can tell when content is real or fake. And even if it is not recognizable as deepfake content, our AI bots will take it down in the first place. Before I move on, I'll take your POI. Make it quick, please.
Understand that my PM already told you that even if there is some good, the mental health of these individuals and the potential for it to be misused.
Okay, I get your point. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm running out of time. I get your point. You're saying that the mental health will be improved because of your policy. But the problem is, if my nude was posted on social media, people have already seen it. Even if you take it down, the harm, the scars that it leaves in my body will remain forever. Moving on to my first argument. Assuming that government succeeds in criminalizing deepfake content, it will only lead to jeopardy. The Prime Minister said himself that deepfake is defamation. So the point that I'm trying to elicit here is that most deepfake content does not harm you. Like I said earlier, we use it for CGI, we use it for Instagram filters. We know there are filters on social media platforms where I can switch faces with my friends. If I were to do that, are you going to charge a fine for me? I don't think so, right? So we can see an example of deepfake being used in the industry is through the Fast and Furious movie. They use deepfake technology to portray Paul Walker's role after his death. But government says this is a crime and you will go to jail for it. So be it. There's also a filter on Snapchat where I can use celebrities' faces on my own face. This is a crime according to the government as well. I applaud you for your intelligence. Their policy will invade people's freedom of expression. You are limiting people's freedom to express themselves. No, thank you. Even if we encounter deepfake content that harms people, it already falls under existing laws. It falls under laws such as defamation. It falls under laws such as identity theft. It falls under laws such as copyright infringement. Are you willing to charge the same person twice for the same crime? He would have to be charged, first of all, for using deepfake technology, and second of all, for defamation. Is that rational to you? It is not on our side. We don't need an extra unnecessary law to charge the same person for the same things. And the thing is, laws exist around the world, but people still commit crimes because there is nothing preventing them from doing it in the first place. Deterrence does not physically stop me from posting deepfake content. To end my speech, government's policy can act as a deterrent. We will not deny that. But their solution is not going to stop the problem from the root cause. Your claim that it can help people's mental health and provide closure is completely false. As I said earlier, people have already seen your deepfake content and it will remain in your heart for the rest of your life. Whereas our policy can address the problem from the root cause. Therefore, for these reasons, I am so very proud to oppose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the first speaker of the opposition. The second speaker of the government, you may start your speech.
Am I audible?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Hold on. Okay. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Deepfake content destroys Elf's life with a single lie. That is what we are fighting for. That is what we on Set Proposition would like to tell you to. A very good afternoon, I bid to all. My speech will comprise mostly on rebuttals, and I will talk more about two constructive arguments to tell you why we on side government is true compared to side opposition. Before I move on towards the substantive in my speech, a few rebuttals for side opposition. For number one, side opposition for some reason has given us this sort of mechanism where they're going to have this sort of AI in order to maintain or regulate the media itself, in order for them to not take down, at least then in order for them to regulate the amount of deepfake content and misinformation, etc. and etc. However, what we on side of government believe, see that there's not much of a difference coming from the mechanism as stated by my prime minister, mainly because their mechanism aren't actually like solving the kind of issue, but more to like people are more likely to exploit the AI that they want to implement in status quo, which we on side government believe that it is, which we on side government believe that the kind of issue rejected, which we on side government believe that the AI, the counter mechanism that they wanted to enact in today's debate doesn't actually solve the problem, but only increases the problem as more people exploits the AI that side opposition solely wanted to put on in the first place. Second rebuttal. Side opposition has told us that on the fact that our mechanism doesn't actually solve anything, but more to like government doesn't actually bring this sort of closer to defeating itself. However, on side proposition, we believe that reason as to why we should make this sort of deepfake content as criminals, mainly because it gives this sort of closure towards the individual itself. In the event where the individual itself were to be like one of the victims of these kind of things, the government would take actions, legal actions, which brings more closure towards the individual itself. Compared to side opposition, which they don't actually give any sort of solution for this kind of thing, after the aftermath of this individual to be affected by this individual, by this fake content, we don't see any sort of solution coming from side opposition. Moving on towards the substantive for side government. And so, number one, potential for financial fraud and scam. In the modern era, deepfake looks realistic to the point where people on the ground are highly likely to believe it. This will open up to potential scams in which are very harmful for the individual itself, mostly targeting the elderly because they aren't that aware of the dangers of the new phenomena due to their lack of knowledge and experience in the modern technology. Examples are, for example, a person can easily impersonate relatives of an individual and place them in scenarios where they pretend to be kidnapped and are asking for ransom money. In this moment of desperation, family members won't be hesitant to fork out thousands or even millions of ensure that the safety of their relatives rejected, even when such contents are fake. It allows scammers to get large sums of money from the victim without putting themselves at risk, actually going through with kidnapping and then asking for ransom of them from the individual like traditional ways. If this blatant exploitative use of deepfake software, with how easily accessibility it is and how easy it is to use, it is not something that should be criminalized, then I don't know what is. It's clearly to see with the potential of people to be exploited in the people by abusing their emotions and having them send money to save their relatives. Even if deepfake content has its beneficial use, it doesn't outweigh this heavy harm that occurs if we don't discriminalize it. In status quo, scams are already considered to be a crime and being punished according to multimedia law that is already in place by the country itself. By not criminalizing deepfakes, it gives this sort of chance for scammers to do scams unpunished and makes the current law that has been stated by the state itself very unvalidated and contradicting, because the government won't have because the government cannot do any sort of legal actions because of deepfake content aren't actually being criminals, but instead they are actually being used for scammers to get an advantage of the victim itself. Before I continue to my second substantive, yes, one POI I take.
Kelly, go ahead.
All right, okay. So, okay. So you say that the criminalization of, okay, so you brought up the example of scams, right? But aren't there already laws in place that attack the issue itself, that are already in place to stop people, to punish people for running scams? Why would we need a new law such as criminalization of deepfake technology?
I get it. Okay, because of deepfake aren't actually being
using my strategy.
People can just like take advantage of it, especially when scammers say, "Oh, deepfake is not a criminal thing, therefore it's legal for us to do so." Which that gives them this sort of mitigation and give them this sort of path, paves the way for them to self-alienate themselves from not doing that particular crime itself, which actually doesn't actually solve the issue by the day, and scams will more likely to happen in status quo. Moving on to the second substantive, damaged self-confidence and catfishing. The current problem that exists under status quo is because of the prominence of social media. A lot more people would use deepfake content to alter or to manipulate their body to look more appealing or to look better. This is because not everything can be verified content, and certain individuals look at such pictures or such videos as the real deal. What happens is that you damage the self-confidence of individuals because they become more bodily conscious, to the point that certain individuals will resort to extreme measures to achieve that sort of looks via starving themselves, overwork their bodies, or even resort to plastic surgeries to look exactly like someone else they saw on social media. This is bad for two primary reasons. Number one, this is outright manipulation. The content that you post on social media can affect the people around you, and it's irresponsible to post such manipulative content that feeds into the body insecurities of individuals, particularly teenagers, to the point where they feel as though they aren't pretty enough, or that they are too fat or too skinny, and etc. Number two, vulnerability individual, when they become increasingly more insecure about their physical appearance, opens up the risk of resorting to extreme measures to achieve such a high expectation of, as they have seen, exhaustion on social media. These things will be like starving themselves, overworking stuff, and etc. in order for them to look good as those people who they seem to be beautiful on social media. We need to limit such form of deception and manipulation on social media, especially when vulnerable individuals like children or teenagers do not have the ability to discern what is and what is not deep fake content, and such should be protected from such forms of content, and make sure the social media is a safe place for such individual. This also opens up the risk of catfishing, which is pretending to be someone else with the intention of seducing people in order to exploit them as a method to gain blackmail material, including provocation pictures, sensitive and personal information. For example, malicious individual catfishing someone and seducing them into sending provocation photos of themselves, in which the catfisher can use to extort money or favors for the victim himself. Catfishing already happens right now, even without deepfake etc. It's not how with the presence of deepfake software which can make extremely convincing for videos and photos of people with realistic movement and etc. So what we see on such opposition is that we are bringing you a more realistic view of what deepfake content actually means, which brings more harm towards the individual as well as the society itself. Compared to such opposition, what they have talking about, they have mostly give you baseless mechanism that doesn't actually solve the root of the problem, but make catfishing or misinformation or fraud in general more worse than it is in status quo. That's all from me. Side with side government, because we win today's debate. Here.
Thank you. The second speaker of the government. The second speaker of the opposition, you may start your speech.
Okay, am I audible? Can I be heard? Oh, good. All right, okay. So I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Chairperson. First and foremost, everyone, members of the floor, I would like you to imagine a knife. A knife in of itself is a tool. It is not inherently good, it is not inherently bad. It depends on the person who is using it. In the world proposed by the government, what they would essentially do is that they would completely criminalize the owning of knives. And I think we can all see how ludicrous and how absolutely inane that solution is, because first and foremost, you're not even addressing the root problem of the issue. Criminalizing something like deepfake technology, which isn't, again, inherently evil or inherently good, It's just a fallacy. Why are you not regulating it? Why are you just simply aiming to cure what has already been done rather than preventing something like this from actually happening? The mechanism proposed by my leader of opposition has addressed that. To reiterate, the mechanism that we propose is that we propose to have an AI to ensure and regulate that before these deep fake contents can even make it out there on the internet, they will have to make sure that they put a disclaimer so that people know straight from the get-go that this is deep fake. If these people don't want to comply to those rules, then simply their posts will never make it up on the internet. I, as the second speaker for the opposition, will be doing two things today. I will be rebutting the government's case, and that will be integrated in my speech. But I will also be bringing forth two things about how completely banning deepfake technology actually brings us more harm than good. First and foremost, members of the floor, something that we all need to understand is that deepfake technology, it is not inherently evil. And for the government to paint it as, pardon, I'll take it later. And for the government to paint it as something that is inherently bad because you can do things like, you can impersonate other people that can result in defamation of character, fine. Those are the insidious parts of deepfake technology. And there are already laws in place to prevent those sort of things from happening. The government has said it themselves, it damages your reputation. Deepfake, the quote, deepfake opens up to the misuse to spread misinformation. It damages an individual's reputation. It harms social stability. It causes an individual to lose their job, isolated from the groups, societal groups, etc., etc. But the thing is, the reasons why these people are facing that, the very core issue, which is, for example, like defamation of character or scams, already have existing laws put in place to bring those people who commit those crimes to justice. There is simply no need for a new law, a new legislation to tackle deepfake. What we need, ladies and gentlemen, is not a new law to criminalize all forms of deepfake technology, but we need a regulation. We need a mechanism put in place to regulate these things, not to outright criminalize them, which is exactly what the opposition here is providing. Now, allow me to get to my first point. And first and foremost is that the criminalization of all forms of deepfake technology is against basic human rights, and that is the right of freedom. Deepfaking is not just something that's inherently good. Yeah, go ahead.
Freedom of expression does not mean freedom from consequences. Insofar as your freedom of speech infringes upon the rights of other people, it should not be considered freedom. It should be considered a crime.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that because it's true. If, let's say, the deepfake content infringes on the rights of other people, the law is that there are laws, like, for example, defamation, to bring them to justice. You don't need a new law for deepfakes just to do that, because all you're doing by introducing this new criminalization of deepfakes, right? First off, you're not addressing the root problem. You're not addressing the actual issues that are caused, such as defamation of character or scams. Secondly, all you're doing is that you are censoring people. You are actively preventing people from being able to exercise their basic right of freedom. Deepfaking isn't just something that people use to impersonate other people. Deepfaking is an art. Okay, it is a form of digital art. There have been many art galleries as of late now that have used deepfakes to, for example, use deepfakes as part of their gallery show. It is an art. It's not just something that's inherently bad. And also, it is also quite harmless. I'll take that later on. It is also, in a sense, very harmless because when you think about it, right? Deepfaking also encompasses things like Instagram filters, Snapchat filters. So are we going to be holding 6, 7, 13-year-olds on the internet who think that, oh, this dog filter is really cute, let me take a photo? Are we going to be criminalizing them as well? Because according to the government, that is what they're saying. That is the world that they are proposing, in which innocent people, your daughters, your sons, could be criminalized because they decided that, oh, this new filter looks cool. Let me swap faces with my best friend. Make that make sense, please. Secondly, I would like to bring forth my second point, and that by completely criminalizing the technological advancements of society, by criminalizing deepfaking technology, you are just bringing more harm than good. The government has said many times that the harms that come around from deepfaking far outweigh any of the benefits. But here I ask you this. Deepfaking has actually played a very pivotal role in the AI technology industry, in the medicine field as well. So you're saying that any sort of good that could come from this, any sort of new medical treatment that could be found to help cure the suffering of people who are already suffering isn't worth it. And first and foremost, when they say that, okay, the harms from deepfaking are is too great to excuse any of the benefits it brings around. Again, you're not addressing the issue. You are not moderating the issue. It is like, okay, have an analogy, for example. If there is a poisonous seed, and that poisonous seed is deepfake technology, and you plant it, and you let that in the government's world, right? There is nothing stopping these poisonous seeds from being planted. It will already be in the ground. The government is only aiming to do something when these seeds have already sprouted into a poisonous plant. And at that point, I would argue that it is far too late. The harms have already been done. But by the mechanism proposed by us, the opposition, we are preventing that poisonous seed from ever being planted in the first place, meaning that all of the harms that the government has brought out will not even be occurred. Because in the first place, we have regulations in place rather than just a law that aims to remedy what has already been done, but can't even remedy it properly because it does not address it from the root issue. I'll take it to your eye now.
If the victim who has been harmed by deepfake, how would you compensate them?
I could ask you the same thing. How did the government say that they would compensate these victims of deepfake technology? First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that when things are criminalized, right, and it becomes a criminal case, especially with something like deepfake technology, which has made the rounds all over social media as well, is that you risk sensationalizing someone else's misfortune, you know? So in a sense, what we do to compensate these people who have been like hurt by deepfake technology is that there are already pre-existing laws in place that help give these victims justice. We don't need a new law only about deepfakes because all the negatives that come from deepfakes, the negatives that you yourself as the government has brought up, are already things that fall under pre-existing laws. There simply isn't the need to go and legislate a new law for it. What we need is regulation. We need something comprehensive to actually prevent it rather than just cure what has already been done when there are already pre-existing cures, already pre-existing laws in place for that very reason. This is the end of my speech, but allow me, before I end, to reiterate my case as the opposition. We as the opposition wholeheartedly believe that criminalizing deepfake technology is akin to criminalizing something like a knife. It does not make sense. What we need is regulation, not a new law that isn't even applicable because there are already laws that are currently in place to help solve the issues that the government has brought up. I've never been prouder to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, second speaker of the opposition. The third speaker of the government, you may start your speech.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
All right, I'll be having my timer on and I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. A single lie should not have the ability to destroy the lives of you and of those that you love. It is on that fundamental ground that we support this motion today. We acknowledge that such laws exist. We want to make sure that such laws encompasses deepfake content as well, because there's something that needs to be criminalized because of the potential harm that it brings to a society. Before I move on to my rebuttal, let me address a few fatal flaws that exist under side opposition. Side opposition is using a logical fallacy called brushing off arguments, whataboutism, where they never engage with our case and brush it off by saying that what about the good things provided by deepfake content? The problem with that is that we acknowledge that deepfake can do a lot of good, but the harms associated with it is way too high, where individuals become vulnerable to slanders and defamation, to catfishing, to financial scam. It is the point where it significantly harms the mental health and the financial stability of these victims. The LO already acknowledged that such harms are already done. They already acknowledged that deepfake content do bring in the harms as provided by my Prime Minister. And he also said that even if deepfake content provides some good in the form of CGI or whatever, the mental health of these individuals must be prioritized first. They say that the policies of filtering the content will work, as if that does not work on the side proposition here. We can do the exact same thing here, but on a more realistic level. Side opposition must debate on how can such videos be filtered through these super galactic AIs. B, how can they take down such videos at a rapid rate? And C, how do governments even develop the AIs to verify these defects to begin with? Because if their policy is so good, then this debate wouldn't have happened to begin with. Side opposition must be charitable and debate on the middle ground. They cannot propose a counter policy that solves every single one of this problem. They're living in a utopia. They're not living on planet Earth here, ladies and gentlemen. Before that, sure, I'll take a POI.
Well, then how do you explain all of the countermeasures that are already in place as places such as YouTube and Twitter that constantly filter out content?
Yes, the problem is deepfake content is very hard for you to regulate insofar as you are able to make sure that these content are criminalized. Every single one of these are criminalized. It reduces the risk of the harms associated with deepfake content. Prevention here is better than cure, ladies and gentlemen. But now I'll be moving on to my rebuttal. First argument, not all deepfake contents are bad. That was what was said. Ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind that prevention is better than cure. In this point, we say that such benefits truly do exist and the good deepfake content can exist. The problem associated with deepfake content, however, is that the harms of such content does more harm than good. We don't care about how many good movies you can see or how pretty you can look on Snapchat or how you look on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. What we should care about is the families and the victims that are put in harm's way when they get harassed via social media, when they get fired from their jobs, or when they get isolated from their peers group. So opposition may laugh all they want about what I'm saying here, but it's all true. They never engage with the urgency of the situation on the ground. Such are the stakeholders that we should care about. A good movie or a pretty face should not come at the expense of one's mental health, ladies and gentlemen. They also talked about how when the media published the verdicts of courts and suddenly people will flock to see such videos, like what happened to Kim Kardashian. We say there's actually a good thing in this case for 3 reasons. First, when large amount of people flock to such content, you are better able to clear up your name and reputation when people know that such videos or such photos are fake. Second, because the media has a large outreach over the audience, this allows for more people to have clarification and verification of such deepfake content. Stop barracking me here. Third, when we provide closure and financial compensation for such victims, they can use that money to help recover financially and mentally from the trauma of being a victim of deepfake content. And for those reasons, I think we have officially taken out the first argument. No, argument 2, freedom of expression. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom of expression should not and never not mean freedom from consequences. When you yell fire in a hall and cause panic, you get charged with threats. When you defame a certain individual, you get charged with defamation and libel. Just because it's deepfake does not make it justifiable to begin with, because freedom of speech and of expression, when it infringes upon the rights of other individuals, like the right from danger, the right to clarity, and so on, is no longer freedom of expression, but rather an actual crime. And just with every single crime should have the offenders be dealt with justice. And to provide closure to victims, we must let justice flow like a river. Side opposition then said that deepfake content is like a knife. No, ladies and gentlemen, deepfake content is like a nuclear bomb. They completely destroys the lives and images of innocent people and of those that you love. Just as governments don't allow us to own nuclear bombs, governments should not allow us to own deepfake content to begin with. In the first place, because it is one that presents so many harms and dangers to society that we are willing to trade off a good movie or a pretty face. We want to make sure that these victims are safe from the harm of such content. So our position wants regulation because they acknowledge the harms, acknowledge the damage of deepfake content. A few problems with regulation under their side of the house. First, regulation are still open up to loophole insofar as people can go around and bend the rules and regulation. Such harms do exist to a certain extent under side opposition. Even though it's minimized, it's still there. Secondly, we said that regulations under the mechanism doesn't provide any sense of closure to the victims when offenders can escape from justice. Third, regulation also requires just as much time as criminalization. The main distinction is that we close all of the loopholes simply because prevention in this case is something that's better than trying to deal with all of these deepfake contents all at once. Fourth, the mechanisms are super unrealistic. They want high-level AIs to verify. They want a super galactic intelligence service that can 100% filter such content. They're living in a utopia, ladies and gentlemen. Because if the counter policy is not only infeasible and is unfeasible and unrealistic. Because if the counter policy can truly solve all of the problems that I've mentioned above, then this debate shouldn't have happened to begin with. So opposition must be more charitable to our case. They must debate on the middle ground. But third, they talked about technological advancement. Ladies and gentlemen, you can advance technology without having to use deepfakes. We can advance renewables, for example. We can advance any sort of technological advancement that doesn't have to require deepfake. We can make robots, for example, that is able to live, or that is able to live, or replace the hard work of laborers, for example. I don't understand as to why suddenly when you criminalize deepfake, we all suddenly become cavemen. Suddenly our quality of life stagnates because there's no technological advancement. Ladies and gentlemen, we say that just because you criminalize it does not mean you stop technological advancement or you deter it. This, in fact, is the same thing. Just because you criminalize it, technological advancement can still happen because companies want innovation, corporations want some sort of innovation, and individuals want some sort of way of profiting off their contribution to society. And the best way of making sure that that actually happens is when these people innovate and to make newer technological advancements. You criminalizing or not criminalizing deepfake content does no different. This argument is one that's irrelevant to this motion. I'll rehash what my second and first speaker said. My first speaker already told you that it's open up to standard. Even if those benefits under your side still exist, we're willing to trade that off. We say that the mental health of people, the safety of individuals and of those of their families are much more important than a good movie or a pretty face. Secondly, we were talking about how this opens up potentially fatal financial scams, especially to vulnerable older individuals as well, because they don't have the ability to verify the authenticity of their sources. This means that if you are able to find a deepfake content of you being kidnapped or whatever, these sorts of people are better able to extort money from vulnerable individuals. And third, we have already talked to you about how it leads to catfishing and also extortion. When people use fake accounts on their Tinder to the point that it becomes indistinguishable from the real thing. I think for all of those reasons above, and because their mechanism is one that is unrealistic and unfeasible, we should win this debate today. Here.
Thank you, the third speaker of the opposition. Thank you, the third speaker of the government. The third speaker of the opposition, you may start your speech.
I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of the floor, government claims to be able to bring justice to the victims of deepfake, and they are actively making light of emotional damage that has already been done. As stated by their policy, they think that just because they impose a law, that suddenly everyone will be deterred from doing it. But then why do we still have murder cases then? Why do we still have other cases that other laws have already been in place to so-called prevent this from happening in the first place still occurring? Whereas our mechanism, although they claim to be some sort of intergalactical formation or some form of impossible technology, let me remind everyone here again that things like Instagram already have a filter content bot in place to make sure that they are able to detect sensitive and sensitive content that may serve even as a trigger warning. In fact, in today's world, I'm pretty sure that everyone now feels like they are teetering on the edge of whether or not this is considered reprehensible or not, especially with deepfake content. There have already been so many people already using disclaimers, which is in our mechanism itself to regulate this content, to ensure that people do not get offended or people understand that, oh, this is deepfake content. Sorry, yes, go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're being very uncharitable here. The mechanism is one that keeps talking about, oh, how do we have AIs that will 100% verify correct content? No, that's not the case. You need to make sure
Okay, I get your point. Again, it is not undoable. We have so many people already in this particular field working on AI. If we can have all these face filters, if we can do deepfake, who's to say that it is impossible to make an AI bot that can detect all of these things in the first place? There are so many YouTube content creators who get demonetized from their videos because they have breached the copyright infringement law. And that's because the AI bot is able to detect it. If we can manipulate our faces and even our voices, for a very good analogy example, what is stopping us from making the very thing that can help regulate all of these content? Next, I would like to bring up the fact that, again, they talk about a relationship that strictly encompasses individual to individual in terms of how they bring justice to the people. Again, as stated by my second speaker, you are letting that poisonous seed grow first before you even deal with it. Whereas on our house, on our side, we have already clearly stated that when this mechanism is implemented and actually done by these AI technicians, that we should not belittle their ability for being able to craft this sort of bot in the first place. We wouldn't even need to bring justice to these people. We wouldn't even need to, in this sense, provide them compensation, because there's nothing to be compensated for when everything is already filtered. Next, I would also like to bring up this fact. They mentioned about so many of the harms, but let's imagine this. When stated by my first speaker that CGI, deepfake, plays a very integral role in making movies and entertainment. If we were to follow side government's world, all of that entertainment will be taken off. And they claim that trading off this form of entertainment is okay to save the mental health of the people. Now, let me...
PI, please.
No, sorry, rejected. Now, let me reiterate this to you. How many people are there inside the movie industry, inside the editing industry? You are literally depriving these people of the jobs that they are working and have worked their entire life for. It is a form of their creative expression, and you are taking it away because of a minority of people that are in fact being maybe tricked or catfished or scammed because of deepfake. But here's the issue we've already mentioned with double jeopardy. There are so many laws already in place to say prevent these, but again, we are just imposing another law, sorry, rejected, imposing another law, but in the end, it still doesn't see actual change at the root. It is still happening. But in the end, we on House Opposition implore you, members of the floor, to understand that with deepfake technology, more of the benefits come from all of the losses with it, because all the losses have already been addressed in the law itself. Catfishing, scams, love scams, baiting, all of that already exists as part of the law. What is the point of adding another law onto deepfake just so you can say, oh, I think this is a good way to deter, when it doesn't actually do anything? Now, side government will argue that putting a law like this is to socially engineer and ram into people's brains that deepfaking is bad, no one should touch deepfake. But here's the thing, why not educate the public, especially in our era, where the use of video content or digital media is so prevalent, to understand what are the fine lines between the good and the bad of these mechanics, especially for deepfake. Go ahead.
If your regulation is so good, then why do I still see explicit content on YouTube?
That's why they are labeled explicit content in the first place. They have already been labeled. They have already been given the R18 sign. They are blocked from people to access those videos. They are already present. So literally, you are just repeating what we have already done, and it's already in the status quo. There is no need to add a law to save people from deepfake issues. Because again, we are in a progressive society. Ladies and gentlemen, we already know what is good and bad. We understand, and it's better to teach them this sincerely instead of socially engineering it into a sense where they don't even know what actually is good or bad in the digital media world. And again, they fail to explain how their mechanism is going to apprehend the very people who are doing deepfake content in the first place. They claim that, oh, we will find them or put them in a prison sentence. But how exactly are you going to justify that kids on TikTok, kids on Instagram that use these filters for their own fun to be fined or even put into jail and labeled as criminals? And mind I remind you, a criminal record is something that no one wants, because why? It jeopardizes their future, especially as an adult. If we're talking in the sense that you are going to apprehend teenagers and kids or people who are just using it for the fun of it, for the sake of making sure that no one uses it. And in this case, you are going to give them a failing credit score, and they'll be unable to employ for their jobs. Again, they seem to live in this utopian world where by taking away deepfake, everything will no longer concern anything with the digital media sector, when in reality, it's really only bringing more harms for people who literally cannot apply for jobs in that particular field. Next, I would also like to accentuate on the fact that our mechanism...
Last PI, please.
Fine, go ahead.
If your mechanism is so good, children wouldn't have access to pornography or to graphic and violent content to begin with. Your mechanism is utopian and not on planet Earth.
We already make sure, and we have already stated that at these particular social media websites and so many other social media websites, they are asking the same questions over and over again, by the way, and they keep on addressing that. It's It's already existing. It's only a matter of which websites you go to. And again, I can say the same thing back to you, government. You have so many laws on defamation, on catfishing, on scams. Is it actually doing anything? No, it's not. And again, the way government is regulating this is too extreme. There needs to be a form of moderation. And the way we have regulated it and propose our mechanism to you with disclaimers and putting warnings before those videos, or even stating, especially even with movies itself, it's already a practice done and must be done. Before a movie that we love plays, we have to watch a disclaimer frame that tells you this is clearly fictitious. Everything done here is based on edits and based on someone's ideals. Whereas on House government, they think that just because they have this particular law, it can deter everyone. So with this, I rest my case. Side by side opposition with their more trustable ideals instead of whatever side government has proposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Directed Speaker of the Opposition. Each team is now given a 3-minute time to prepare your reply speech. I now call upon the opposition speaker to present the opposition reply speech.
My speech will begin in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, Speaker. Members of the floor, the purpose of this debate is simple. Whoever can reduce the harmful repercussions of deepfake takes the debate. I have 3 parts to my reply speech today. I'll begin by talking about the mechanisms and the compensation. Next, I'll be talking about catfishing and movies. Third, I'll be talking about programming. Beginning with my first point of the mechanism, the Deputy Prime Minister claimed that there is not much difference in our mechanisms. He also claimed that our mechanism did not provide any solutions to the aftermath. Members of the floor panel of the judges, we have to understand that there is no need to solutions of aftermath when there is no accident in the first place. Our mechanism prevents these content, the deepfake content that harms your reputation, from even being published in their first place. Compared to their mechanism, they're giving people the chance to post, to publish the deepfake content on the internet. And only after it has been posted, after it has done its damages, only then they will take it down and serve you justice. That doesn't sound like justice to me in the first place. And secondly, the Deputy Prime Minister said that people cannot recognize deepfake content. I will admit that there are certain deepfake content that is hard to recognize with the naked human eye, but there is a reason we have AI technology. The AI technology can detect the sources of the video. And his example of relatives being kidnapped and these pirates using ransom money to earn money is absolutely a weak stance. Does that make sense? If your relative was kidnapped, what's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to call your relative to see if it's true, or are you going to take out money? That was a weak example by the Deputy Prime Minister. And they also were attacking people who edit their faces on other people's bodies. And the government whip said that a pretty face doesn't matter. If people are using catfishing on Tinder, it will lead to scandals. This is another weak stance. Are we going to prohibit all aspects of deepfake just because you are going to catfish another person? Does it sound rational to you? If you were to do online dating and you met someone who was catfishing you, you are eventually going to meet that person face to face either way. And if you stop all forms of deepfake, which what their mechanism does, you prohibit every single production of expression, such as movies. If you hate movies so much, you are invited to go live in Kelantan. Don't let the rest of the world suffer with you. The prohibition of movies will lead to economic issues, because we all understand that movies contribute to the capital of the country. Kelantan is one of the poorest states in Malaysia because they don't have movies. That's one of the reasons. Are you willing to sacrifice this major contributor to our economy just because of a few bad aspects of deepfaking? Moving on to the leader of opposition's point on how are we going to compensate these people after the damages have been done. He totally neglected our mechanism because we avoid the accidents from happening in the first place. There is no deepfake content being published on the internet, which leads me to my last point. Our AIs are there to protect the people. Your reputation won't be ruined because the AIs will stop people from lying about you. The government whip said, how are we going to program these AIs? How can the AI detect the deepfake? First of all, let's leave that to the experts, shall we? Second of all, we live in a world where everything technological is possible. The government being pessimistic about this issue does not help solve the problem. Is it rational for us to ban every single aspect of deepfake just because it ruins your reputation and their mechanism doesn't even solve the problem in the first place? Therefore, for these reasons, I believe that our counter mechanism is much better than the one that the government has provided, because we stop the problem in the root cause. And also we have illustrated how deepfake isn't necessarily bad. Thank you very much.
I thank the first speaker of the opposition and now call upon the government speaker to present the government's reply speech.
Hello, everyone. Just make sure everyone can hear me. Oh, okay, so I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much. I'll be starting my reply speech in 3, 2, and 1. Deepfake content opens up the potential of destroying the lives of innocent people. And it is on that fundamental basis we propose this motion. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, some clashes. How and why side government deals with the clashes better than side opposition? First clash, on discouragement. Side government has proven to you one single logic. By criminalizing all forms of deepfake content, we discourage people from using deepfake content. We request individuals to be extremely careful and cautious to never misuse deepfake content. Even in the worst case scenario, where individuals' reputation are already damaged by deepfake content, therefore, it is sad to know that side opposition is living in denial because they assume that everyone in this world is good people and will always use deepfake content for good purposes. Now, second clash on emotional harms. Side government has proven to you under both sides of the house, deepfake content will harm the reputation of individuals and further lead to mental health deterioration, and even to the extent of committing suicide. With such harms existing under both sides of the house, side government can give closure to victims by making public clarifications to clear their names. However, side opposition never show to us their initiatives and even roadmap to make sure deepfake content are always used for good purposes, other than proposing having AI filtering bots to regulate deepfake contents. And it's also being rebutted by our side by saying that AI filtering bots are easily exploited by people, and they are so contradicted and they are so inconsistent because they claim that those bots are in place to filter such contents. However, deepfake content are still seen on the internet, ladies and gentlemen. They never prove to us to how they are being really efficient in this case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I will highlight a few weaknesses and flaws that exist under opposition's case. First of all, they say that such contents can be filtered with some sort of unrealistic AI bots because when their counter policy is so perfect that they can solve all of such problems. Side opposition is being uncharitable by proposing such an unrealistic mechanism. If your mechanism is so good that children would not have access to pornography or to the graphic and violent content. Your mechanism is the one that's in utopian, that is the one is living in denial and never on this planet. AI is never perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, they never engage with our case. We say that the lives of the families of those victims and those victims themselves take the top priority over a good movie or a good pretty face. They are focusing on the wrong stakeholders in this debate, ladies and gentlemen. Now, thirdly, the opposition would never engage in our case. She repeated what was already being said and what was already being rebutted. Our arguments about financial harms, the risk of sexual extortion and catfishing, the potential harms of standard and reputation harms, none of our arguments were being taken down, and therefore our points remaining standing. Lastly, they even dare to defame Kelantan. A defamation of our fellow state is one that is very, very unacceptable. If you want Malaysian unity, then side opposition is not the way for you to go. Ladies and gentlemen, to conclude my speech, criminalizing all forms of deepfake is the key to social stability. Therefore, side government should win this debate ultimately, and our argument still remains standing. Thank you very much.
I thank the first government for concluding the debate. Now, we will have a few minutes break while waiting for the educators to finish conferring on the best speakers. Debaters are asked to remain until that time, after which the judges may address comments to them.
Hi, that was a really good round. Thanks for the debate, guys.
Thank you, Raymond. You put up a good fight as well. Also, whatever happened during the debate is nothing personal, okay? Debate is debate.
Yes, we know. We're just trying to use the Kelantan as an edge over you guys.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
I didn't mean it in such a brutal way, lah, of course.
I know. It's like a rhetorical technique rather than one that actually debate. But no,
Yeah.
you guys did very good actually. I really like all your points.
Thank you. You guys did well too. Raymond, does your dad happen to be a lawyer? You're a really, really good debater.
Oh no. My dad is not a lawyer. But no, I've been debating for 5 years, that's why. I've debated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I debated for 5 years.
You started with school or what?
Yeah, I started in Form 1 and then I started debating until now.
So from 5 lah.
Yeah, from 5 this year. My only year joining Dr. Ira.
Are your team members all from 5?
No, Zuhairi is from 4.
Ah.
Yeah, but oh my god. How about you guys? Are all of you from 5 as well?
Most
No,
of
I'm
us
from 4.
Yeah, except Kai,
And
Arizin
Rowena.
just now, and
Me.
Rina.
From 4.
Oh wow, okay.
Well, all of us are talking like normally, but didn't even realize the recording is still there.
No worries. No worries. Let's just ignore the recording.
If it goes on
Okay.
YouTube, people will know that debating is debating, and outside
Yes.
debating is totally total
Yeah,
different story.
it's nothing personal. Debating is just because you want to win and you guys want to win as well.
Which part of Sarawak are you guys from? Are you guys the same school?
No, actually, me and Rafe are from Cebu, and then Zuhairi is from Miri. So yeah, Evelyn is from Cebu, and Ryan is also from Miri. So from different school as well. We the Cebu ones are from Methodist, and then the Miri one is from Lutong. How about you guys? Are you from the same school?
No.
Some.
Oh wait, okay.
Like me, the Kelly, which is speaker number 2, and Carl,
Yeah.
reserve number 5. We're from Sri Hatamas, SMK Sri Hatamas.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
our third speaker is from Convent Bukit Nanas, CBN. And then our reserve number 4, she's from Sekolah Aminuddin Baki.
Oh, no wonder. Oh, no, oh wait. Your speaker number 4 is like Khadija Binti Kamaluzaman, right? I think I've heard that
Yeah.
name in NWS before. I think I saw her name.
Yeah, I
there.
remember.
Oh my god! Really? Wait, which year?
Yeah.
Is it 2020 or 2021?
2021.
Oh, wait, I think I debated against you before.
Yeah, I remember you.
Oh wait, shoot. Okay. Oh wait, oh wow. I forgot which motion was it, but yeah, I also like, and because I saw that your name was there, I was like, oh no, we're going against KL. Super short debaters. Yeah, you guys fought a very damn good fight, to be honest. Like 10 out of 10.
Thank you. You guys.
Yeah, you guys were amazing
same.
too. It was so nice to watch you guys debate.
Yeah, I saw you run against Negeri Sembilan as well. Absolutely intense round. I swear to God.
Who is your first prelim against?
Our first prelim was against, I think it was Selangor. Yeah, Selangor, defending champion.
How was that?
Absolute luck. Huh? We thought it was a bad call, but we still accepted it nonetheless. I think we just tried to improve upon the OA lah.
Yeah, definitely for us as well.
Oh wait, okay. You guys are prop or op for the first round? I think it was prop. Right?
We were Gov.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, Gov is I don't know, because to be honest, I think like the Gov motions, it's like a bit outweighted lah. I don't know. Looking at the motion.
Yeah, the first one was a little more. Yeah, it was a bit scarier to debate as Gov.
Honestly,
Yeah.
for me, I see it as equal footing because like countries like China or countries like Vietnam, they nationalize their energy resources. It's really just a matter of how we present our points, I guess.
Yeah, it's also a matter of how like you characterize developing countries. If you're able to characterize countries like China or like India as like developing states, then your arguments are more viable in that case.
If you don't mind me asking, what made you want to prohibit every single aspect instead of just the bad ones? I just wanted to know. If you don't want to answer, it's fine.
Oh,
That's
no. I think it's
The
just
motion,
because
right?
yeah, it's
That's
just
the motion itself.
Yeah.
You
Motion
can't
in all
pick.
forms.
Was it in the info card?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
motion
it was
is all forms.
criminalized
okay,
all.
okay.
I just went to
missed
check
that one.
I just went to check my WhatsApp, and apparently my code said you ran the abstract case. They said that if op was smart, they'll run on regulating the industry as well. So kudos to that. Absolutely. Oh, it's such a good debate, man.
Yeah, that was a good. It was not only a good fight, but it was a fun one as well.
Yeah,
it was.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it definitely was fun for me, especially like, being opposition whip after quite some time and being able to have the final say. It was fun to, I guess, go up against you, Raymond, because we're both like fellow whip speakers.
To be honest, I feel I debate too aggressive. I don't know. I feel I'm debating.
I mean, I
on,
was
a
a
very
little
aggressive
scared
level, which
listening
is
to
why
your
some
speech.
judges think that I'm like scary.
Yeah, it was
You know,
scary to see you
every
debate,
time-
but it was good.
Every time you asked the POI, I was shivering, man.
No lah.
I was like, this guy, he's gonna ask a difficult question.
No lah. You know what? I forgot which one of you asked the POI. I was like, okay, I forgot. I think I tried not to accept the DP the DLO ones because I was like, I think because the way that you present your speech was very concise, which made me like kind of scared. It's like, okay. So my mental gymnastic was, okay, let's accept every single POI from the DLO, and then it worked. Oh my god, it's so funny. anyways,
there-
yeah.
Does the rest of your team have like the same years of debating experience as you? Or?
No, we started debating last year. He actively started debating last year. And I don't know about Zuhairi, but yeah, we joined a few
3
BP tournaments.
years.
Yeah, we joined
Wow.
a few BP tournaments, and then
Oh,
we slowly improved from there.
BP is difficult, man.
Yeah, I know, right? BP is so difficult. You ask
I hate
Zuhairi,
BP.
he
I
had
hate BP.
trauma debating BP.
BP. I almost feel like crying. There was this one competition. The first opponent I met was a WUDC grand finalist, and I was like,
Ooh.
Yeah,
oh my god, I don't want to drink
the
BP.
luck
From which country?
from Singapore. And her teammate is from Singapore, and her other teammate is from Australia.
I see.
So imagine that sort of luck. Yeah.
Do you guys have any social media platforms that we can connect on?
Oh yeah. Can I type mine in the chat and you can just
I don't
follow it?
Think you
I
can
wanted
send
to
to
type in the
everyone.
chat
Oh, no,
also,
oh, no.
but there's
Okay,
no
okay.
everyone.
I'll
Yeah.
just put mine in first. Raymond and Lamaton. So LLAMATON.
From there, you can just find us from Raymond.
Yeah.
Okay, I found you.
Nice.
How do you guys feel about the motion as soon as you got it?
Okay. How I felt was that I thought we're like, oh, okay, this is a very, how to say, it was a very Gulf bias motion. I was like, yes, let's go. And then I thought, what if opposition wants regulation? And I was like, oh yeah, they might want regulation. So I was like, okay, if they want regulation, these are my preamp. I was so damn scared, but it was, yeah, I didn't expect you guys to run regulation. I thought you run on like how deepfake contents are like something that's good in the world and things like that. I didn't expect you guys to run like regulation of these sorts of things.
I mean, we did add certain points about how deepfake is good as well.
Yeah, but you're like, you keep hammering on like, the mechanism and also like how certain laws already exist. And I was kind of caught off guard by that. I was like, oh yeah, that's true. I was like, I was trying to find a way to rebut that. And the only way of rebutting that was like, oh, these are a few reasons, and it was obvious.
Yeah, your rebuttals were really, really good, man. I couldn't have thought it in that way. Oh, sorry, the judges are back.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
I would like to call upon Eric Constantine as the chief educator to give his oral education and announce the verdict of today's debate and also the best speaker title.
Okay, once again, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you to the speaker for today, for today's round, second prelim round. Okay, so I would like to announce the result first, and after that, I will do my oral education. Is that okay? All right. So ladies and gentlemen, with the motion for today, this House will criminalize all form of deepfake content is rejected, which means that the position from WPKL is that Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur is the winner for this round. Congratulations to Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur, and best debater goes to jeng, jeng, jeng. That speaker from the opposition, Owena. Congrats. Okay, so this is in a way just a brief discussion with the judges. I think both teams in a way portray good spirit of debate. We had a good time, listen to the arguments. So it's a split decision. Split decision means that both teams in a way projected strong points and strong arguments. So at the end of the day, who did better in convincing the judges? So I think both sides in a way have their techniques and strategies to convince the judges. At the end of the day, for the government has to prove in a way, why would you criminalize? So you have to put a lot of burden and proof to show it to the judges as well. And of course, for the judges, we are there just to listen, and the opponent have to pick out all the flaws of the argument. At the end of the day, for the next round, Sarawak or Kuala Lumpur, for example, always look at the loopholes of the arguments. Every time, example, like If, example, the opposition, the Kuala Lumpur, they have managed to pinpoint all the flaws of the argument, so you also have to do the same thing, all right? So this is to improve. And every time when you do the rebuttals, never ever look only on the examples. What was their main argument? So think about that one. So use those first, and after that you attack the later part, which is the example. So look at the main arguments, the bigger picture. I think if you look carefully on the case setup, the moment that you look at the weakness of the case line, straight away you can shoot, and after that it will collapse the whole arguments. So think about those strategies as well. But anyway, overall, both teams have performed very well. So we are very pleased and excited to watch this debate. It was good. So congrats once again to both teams. All right, thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you
debate,
for-
Yeah,
Sarawak.
thanks for the
Thank you.
OA,
Yeah,
and
thank
thanks
you.
for the
Thank
really
you.
nice match.
Thank you for the
Thanks for the debate. Bye. Good luck.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Good luck for next time. Yeah.
Next round,
Uh,
see you and all the best.